Hello, I'm Dave Wright. I'm a member of the British Organ Grinders Association, and there's a group of us here this week entertaining the visitors at the National Waterways Museum at Ellesmere Port. We've got several types of street organ here, some playing on traditional punch card, others fairly modern on computer chips, but the sound is exactly the same. We go about all over the country as a group, entertaining visitors to various attractions. Also, we go out as individuals at various times of the year, entertaining, generally raising money for charity.
Very good. How would you describe the organ that you have?
The organ that I've got is a French street organ. French street organs tend to sound different to all other street organs because the French like to sing to theirs. Fortunately, I don't. Unfortunately for anybody listening, I don't. But go to France, any weekend in a market square, in almost any town in France, you'll hear an entertainer with a street organ singing to the crowds. As far as we know, this French street organ is the only one in Britain. But others, a colleague of mine who's just started playing, he actually built his own, and other organs on site today have been built by their owners, whereas this one, we actually bought it.
This seems like a more modern piece that he's playing on that. How do you get the music from that? Is it possible to get new pieces?
Yes, for this organ, it's somewhat difficult for us, being a French street organ, because it plays on a different scale of music.
Right.
So any music for ours has to be specially arranged in this country, although we can buy music off the shelf in France, but nobody would recognise the tunes. So that makes it somewhat more difficult because, having to be specially arranged, there are few people who can do it. There are even fewer people who will do it,
right.
And it tends to be somewhat expensive.
Yes.
But we can manage to get it done. Whereas on the other organs that are played from computer chips, what's known as MIDI files are available off the internet and various other things, so people can fairly easily get music.
But you're more of a traditionalist.
But I'm not saying we're more of a traditionalist. It's more of a traditional way of getting the music to play, although the sound that comes out at the end is exactly the same.
Okay.
They are still pipe organs. It's just the way of controlling which pipes are playing.
Now, how original is this particular one?
This is an original street organ, although it was built in 1988.
Okay.
They're still building street organs now in England, Germany, Holland, France. So, although you can get a modern one, they're still new organs.
Could you tell us something about the mechanics and how it works?
It basically works by pumping bellows, which gives you the air pressure to play the pipes. On this particular one, it's punch card going through the organ, and the holes in the punch card control which notes are being played. Whereas on a MIDI organ, it's a computer program which decides which pipes are going to play. Otherwise, they're exactly the same. Still have bellows which have to be pumped. Just the way of controlling the music.
Now, what's this called? What would you call it? Is that a set?
This is a book of music.
Right.
Organs were originally pinned barrels.
Yes.
Which meant that you had to carry a lump of tree trunk around with you, which you had at most 8 tunes on.
Right.
And then back in about the late 1800s, they took the idea of the jacquard looms, which were produced for reproducing regular patterns in the weaving of cloth, and they operated from punch cards. Right. So instead of having to carry a length of tree trunk around with you, you carried a book of card music.
Very good.
But that's still heavy to carry.
Right.
From the punch card, they went over to punch paper rolls, like in a pianola.
Right.
You could get more music on a length of paper, a lot lighter. whereas on one paper roll you could probably get about 8 or 10 the equivalent tunes on a book of cardboard music, and those 8 tunes weighed a lot less than one book of cardboard music. Then the next step was go over to computer chip, a little SD card that you would have in your camera. You can get 1,000 tunes on.
Horrible. But you know, the fact that this is card means that it has a good life, it'll last.
Oh, it'll last, yes. Perhaps I missed out. From the stage, from the pinned barrel, you then went to punch card, but you had pins coming up through the holes in the card.
Right.
The trouble with that was, as the music went through, so the pins coming up through the card wore the end of the hole, which was the note. So over a period of time, the notes got longer and longer. So you had to get new music cut. Then they went over to a totally pneumatic system, which is what this one is.
Yes. Pneumatic being?
It sucks air through the holes, opens air valves, which then lets air into the pipes under pressure from the bellows in the organ.
And it's all derived from the fabric trade, from the
punch card system is derived from the fabric trade, and jacquard looms were invented in about 1780s.
Okay. So, will we just have a little demonstration of what
Certainly.
this sounds like?
Can I just show you? I'll show you on this. Each of those holes on the tracker bar are connected to the pipes in the organ.
Right.
So as the music is pulled through by me turning the hand wheel, so it uncovers some of the holes, and those notes will then play.
Very clever. It's clever and ingenious.
It's clever,
like a lot
ingenious,
of,
but it's very simple.
Yes, yes.
This is a tune called Darktown Strutter's Ball. Post-war, people would not have heard them on the streets.
Right.
They died out roughly at the Second World War time.
Right.
People used to go around the streets earning their living from them prior to the Second World War, but since then, no, it's died out. People went over to record players and everything else. The original tradition has died out.
I know.
But we're trying to keep some of it alive.
Well, you are. You are. You're doing a very good job of it too.
Thank you.